We start introducing our tool with a heat map. Here the columns represent the IPs or computers. The rows represent the time slices. Each cell therefore represents a number of connections coded with color. The darker the cell, more connections have been initiated by a given computer during certain time slice. We can apply the magic lens on any of the cells in order to investigate activity of a certain computer during the given time. Here the black window appears once we roll mouse over a certain cell, and the red number above at the top corresponds to the actual weight of the cell, the number of connections that have been initiated during this half hour. IP and time are also shown at the top. The list of IPs which are seen in the bottom half of the lens are the destination IPs that have been connected. Ports which were used during these connections are also listed in the legend below. For example, in this case, we can see that there was only one destination IP, 1032.0.1. It was connected through many different ports which are given below. Overall 76 connections have been initiated. In this example we see that quite a few, around 10 computers have been connected through two different ports, 80 and 6667. We can see that there are many IPs whose activity patterns are similar. Therefore it would be interesting to cluster this data. Here we select one of the algorithms that is provided by the tool. Let's do the k-means. Here we can select the time span, which is interesting for us. For instance, if the expert is interested in only a certain period of time, activity patterns for a certain period of time, he can select the beginning and the end slots, but we will just leave them empty and therefore consider the entire data set. As a feature we'll select history. We can see here that similar IPs now are grouped into clusters, and it is easier to analyze the data, appreciate the scale of activity patterns. We can now refer to the time series view. As we can see that there are a few top talkers who actually flatten the curves below and out in the visual clutter. So in order to avoid this, we could filter the data. Here we provide the synchronization between the two views. Basically the IP which we are investigating with the magic lens, this curve is highlighted in the time series, as you can see. We also provide an ability to filter on port. We now display in the heat map only the cells which contain 6667 connections. You can also see that the time series view changed and only 6667 active computers curves are shown. You can see that there are many IPs which did not initiate any 6667 connections, therefore their cells are all white now. But there are certain groups who did use 6667 a lot. Going back to clusters, we can cluster them, and here we can see the overview of our clusters. Few clusters that have been generated and which are similar visually. For example, this one and this one, say. Basically there are two clusters which are almost identical. In this case the analyst could merge them or post cluster the data. However, in case post clustering does not merge all the clusters which according to expert's opinion should be clustered, he could select them and merge them together. We can see now that there are two clusters that have been selected with size 53 and 74. And we can see that the new cluster was included with 127 items, which is exactly the sum of 74 and 53. We can continue and merge this cluster with this one. Their sizes are 300 and 279, therefore the merged one would be 579. And here we go. During clustering we'll also can specify the number of clusters. 0 implies that the number of clusters would be determined automatically. We could also consider another feature for clustering, say the maximum number of connections. Here we can see the clusters generated for this attribute. However, the clusters are sorted by the size number, which may not be really representative. In this case, we can sort by attribute value. We can see a gradient from light to dark, from left to right, which means that the clusters with the most active computers are to the right side. Here we can see the 30 most active computers in the very last cluster. And when we investigate any of them, we can see that the maximum number of connections as displayed here is around 3000, which is definitely one of the highest numbers in the network, while other clusters have computers which are far less active, with 54 or 50 connections only.